So, Robby, what's on your radar?
Well, PayPal is a company that facilitates financial transactions. It owns Venmo, which is an app that many people, myself included, have used to pay each other for services. The company effectively creates a digital wallet where you can store money like in a bank account and use it to complete financial transactions. Peter Thiel and Elon Musk, billionaire entrepreneurs who have both talked about the importance of free speech and civil liberties, well, both of them have been involved in the company at various stages. All right, a few days ago, PayPal rolled out an updated user agreement. That agreement prohibits the sending, posting, or publication of any messages, content, or materials that present a risk to user safety or well-being or contain misinformation. The policy notes that what counts as misinformation is at PayPal's sole discretion, and the penalty for violating this policy is a withdrawal of $2,500 from the offending user's account. Now, many people don't keep that much money in their account, but some do. And the new policy says that PayPal can deduct $2,500 from your account per infraction. So someone who spreads quite a bit of so-called misinformation could stand to lose a great deal of money. This is obviously incredibly worrying. For one thing, efforts to police misinformation have been prone to significant error and significant overreach. Governments, media organizations, and tech platforms have all made serious attempts to limit the spread of misinformation by cracking down on speech that they thought was wrong or dangerous. But time and time again, these measures have resulted in censorship of legitimate discourse. Facebook, for instance, took great pains to prevent users from theorizing that COVID-19 emerged from a lab. Twitter faced pressure from the Biden administration to purge accounts that criticized the mainstream consensus on vaccines, masks, and other subjects. YouTube's policies prohibited content creators from spreading so-called COVID misinformation, including the statement, masks don't work, and COVID is no more dangerous than the flu. Now, some of those statements have more validity than others, in my opinion, but none of them are considered outside the bounds of acceptable conversation any longer because things have changed. That which the misinformation gatekeepers termed misinformation is now just information, which makes you question the wisdom of punishing people for spreading it. And the government's so-called misinformation experts have performed no better than media organizations or social media platforms. Remember Nina Jankowicz, who was chosen as director of the Department of Homeland Security's Disinformation Governance Board? Well, Jankowicz was given the job of policing disinformation at the highest levels of elite law enforcement and national intelligence, and yet she was someone who had wrongly flagged the New York Post Hunter Biden laptop story as Russian disinformation. It wasn't. We all know that. Today, we know the laptop was real, so was the story. Okay, so back to PayPal. So there is some good news here. The company has said in a statement that the update, well, was a mistake. Quote, an AUP notice recently went out in error that included incorrect information, a PayPal spokesperson told Fox Business. PayPal is not fining people for misinformation, and this language was never intended to be inserted in our policy, end quote. So you can take that for what it's worth. Maybe the update was a genuine error, or maybe PayPal simply received so much criticism over the last few days that they're changing course. But, this is an important but, as Eugene Volokh, a law professor and one of my colleagues at Reason Magazine, he points out that PayPal does still have a policy, was already on the books, and states that you may not use the PayPal service for activities that relate to the promotion of hate, violence, racial or other forms of intolerance that is discriminatory, or the financial exploitation of a crime. Now, violating that policy can also result loss of $2,500. Volokh warns that sharply criticizing religion or government officials maybe, well, that could be construed as the promotion of hate and could theoretically violate that policy. Sounds like a good reason to think twice about using PayPal, writes Volokh. I've just withdrawn the $1,000 I have in my PayPal account, and I'm starting the process of disentangling myself from the service to the extent possible. That sounds like a good plan to me. So I don't know, what do you think about this, Alimi? Pretty crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is not being adjudicated in a court of law. And this is just a company. So if you've given them this money, I mean, it's your money. They're saying they're just going to deduct. Now they're saying they're not doing the misinformation thing.
Yeah.
But if you read the fine print, there are other grounds for because what we term hate.
Yeah.
You know.
Listen, I understand we are in a time of misinformation on both sides. I think there's misinformation all around. No one reads anything. A lot of clickbait, a lot of headlines. I think that goes true all around the internet. But you know, I'm against any boards, anybody trying to be the gatekeeper or the deciding factor on who censors it or who figures out what is misinformation or what isn't. Also, information evolves. So when you decide it might be, it might not, the same reason. So I'm actually on your side with that general reasoning. Plus, I'm just always wary of anything that seems like it's going to take us into Big Brother territory. But I don't get this in particular because am I misunderstanding how PayPal works? Like, PayPal's not a social app where we're spreading information. Like, how does it work? Or is it intended to apply against companies? Is it like if companies or organizations have a PayPal account and they do something on their separate platforms, will they be punished? How is it working? Because I guess that's what I want to know.
So that's a great question. What I gather from it is that they intended to, and again, they've said they're not doing the misinformation thing, that was a mistake. But what I would have suspected that to kind of you get in trouble with that if you were Venmoing or something, or use financial transactions on PayPal to like an organization that is promoting something that is deemed misinformation
like
on
that?
COVID, like some kind of
if you're using
anti-vax
money
organization, probably.
So that's probably a no for me.
Yeah.
That's going to be a no for me on either way, right? Listen, you know what my feelings are on the other side of the aisle, the belief systems. But I still believe people have the right to think what they want, engage in that, support what organizations they want, barring it's not something like the Klan.
Well, there's just kind of a presumption that that's not, like, a company like this stays in its lane.
Right.
This is a financial transaction company. Like, if you commit a financial crime, I guess you're going to get thrown off the platform. But they're not. It is increasingly, though, these large tech companies are trying to do. We've seen this with DuckDuckGo, with GoFundMe, with other the kinds of reaching into we don't actually approve of this kind of financial activity, so you don't. And look, they can do that, but they first of all, they need to be upfront.
I think they need to be upfront.
Like, look, this is a platform, this is a service only for, I guess, liberals or something who agree.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It seems like they're being deliberately vague around this. I can only imagine, in my mind, if they have this policy in place, I don't think there's anything wrong with a policy that says you're not allowed to engage in hate and crimes and discrimination and things that are just universally, we have pretty much those rules anywhere and anything that you agree to. I don't think that's a problem. Fining people is a different conversation. Stealing $2,500 from me is a cause to fight.
Right, it's your money.
Right.
that you would have, under this policy, I guess, foolishly just let them.
No, we have to fight.
No,
we have to fight. If you take $2,500 from me, we have to fight regardless. And because I think, and also, how much is intention being incorporated into this? Because you can spread misinformation by mistake. You tweet out the wrong thing. You say, oh no, I didn't. You correct this. You change this. But a $2,500 hit, which is why it led me to believe maybe this is about going after organizations, which I think that is a little bit different.
And it's just changed so many. You used to be. You were not allowed to say under various social media policies. You couldn't say the vaccines don't stop the spread of COVID. But now we all know that's essentially true. It stops you from getting very ill, but the vaccines are not really holding back cases. That's not a contested thing.
I can't get into that. I am not qualified to pretend to be a COVID expert. I do know, I will say this is the only thing I could give as my personal anecdote, is that I'm vaccinated, boosted, and I ain't never had COVID. Not one time, Robby, and I don't know if I'm built different, but I might be pro-vaccine.
I'm pro-vaccine as well, but it's just they were presented the good they were what you said they were doing, not you specifically, just what the experts said.
No, I get it.
Didn't pan out.
I think that's a perfect example of when you look at COVID in specific, just because I think COVID is when we first started hearing misinformation just 24/7, and we've seen the COVID. I don't even know where the COVID dialogue is at this point. It's changed so much in both, who knows, right? Who knows what's true, what's valid? Because just the other day I said to my friend, I think I need to get boosted, right? I need to get boosted every 6 months. He was like, no, that's done. It doesn't work. I'm like, what? But when did it change? You didn't update me. So I do think it has changed. I think that's a perfect example, Robby, on
Your
how
friend's got to look out for using PayPal.
Yeah, he might catch a bill. But if you have $2,500 sitting in your PayPal to go, I don't know if you get the most of my sympathy, but I would still fight regardless.
Take it out. More Rising right after this.